Hi, here we are back again with Superfudge. There's Peter, there's Fudge, there's little Tootsie. So yesterday we left Peter with his grandma and Tootsie, and they were dancing around and singing around, and Peter was a bit reluctant to join in dancing and singing with the baby, but he realised he quite liked it. So here we go. I twirled around and around with Tootsie in my arms, and Grandma was right. She loved it. She screamed and laughed and threw her head back, and pretty soon I was laughing too. And all three of us were having a fine old time when Fudge appeared at the door and said, "What are you doing, Peter?" I looked over, and Mom and Dad were standing there too. I was just dancing, Grandma said. Tootsie likes to dance, so we were dancing with her. She found her shoes under Tootsie's crib and stepped into them. I put Tootsie down in her infant seat and smoothed my hair with my hands, ready to explain that it was Grandma's idea and that I was just going along with her. But it turned out that I didn't need to explain anything, because nobody seemed to think it was strange that I was dancing with Tootsie, or that Grandma was singing her Toot Toot Tootsie song. "Guess what?" Fudge said. "What?" Grandma asked. "I saw him. I saw my minor bird." "Where?" I asked. "At the pet store," Fudge said. "We're going to bring him home tomorrow. They had to order a cage. He's all black with yellow legs and a yellow nose." "Yellow Bill," I said. "Nose Bill, who cares?" Fudge asked. "And he can talk." "What can he say?" "He can say hello in French." "In French?" I asked. "That's right, in French," Mom said. "He's very cultured." "And I've already named him," Fudge said. "What did you name him, Fudgy?" Grandma asked. I expected him to say Pierre or Jacques, since he spoke French. "Uncle Feather," Fudge said. "Uncle Feather?" I said. "Yes, Uncle Feather," Fudge said. "Isn't that a good name for a bird?" "It's, unusual," I said. "And interesting, right?" Fudge asked. "Oh yeah, definitely interesting," I told him. "It's a real privilege, isn't it?" "No, it's not a privilege," I told him. "It has nothing to do with a privilege." I never should have used that word with such a little kid. He still didn't know how to use it. He probably never would. "So it's not a privilege," Fudge said. "So who cares?" He began to sing. "Uncle Feather came to town, flying in the blue sky, yellow nose and yellow legs, and he belongs to me, oh my." "Come on, Grandma," Fudge said. "Dance with me now." He and Grandma held hands and danced around the room while Fudge sang his latest to the tune of Yankee Doodle. My family and their musical numbers were getting to be too much, so I took off for Alex's house and some peace and quiet. The next day, Mom, Dad, and Fudge went down to the pet store and returned with Uncle Feather, complete with a cage, a cover, a box of food, and a book called Getting to Know Your Minor Bird. "Bonjour, bonjour," Uncle Feather said over and over again. "That means hello in French," Fudge told me, as if I didn't already know. Dad carried the cage up to Fudge's room, which happened to be next to my room, and all afternoon all I heard was "Bonjour, bonjour" in bird voice, and then I banged on the wall between my room and Fudge's. "Can't you teach him to say something else?" I'm trying, Fudge hollered. I'm trying, Uncle Feather repeated. Oh, swell, I thought. We just got Fudge out of the habit of repeating everything I said, and now we got a bird who does the same thing. Why didn't I keep my big mouth shut at the dinner table that night? Why didn't I convince Fudge to listen to Mom and get a canary, or to Dad and get a parakeet? The next morning, when I went to have a look at Uncle Feather, he greeted me with, "Bonjour, stupid." "Isn't he smart?" Fudge asked. "Doesn't he learn fast?" "Yeah, he's terrific," I said. As I left the room, Uncle Feather called out, "Goodbye, stupid, goodbye." "By yourself," I said. Yourself? He repeated. He likes to eat worms and insects and plants, Fudge said at breakfast. So I'll have to go find him some worms. Oh, no, Mom said. He'll be very happy eating the food we bought him at the pet store. But Mommy, Fudge said, you wouldn't feed Tootsie just one kind of food, would you? That's different, Mom said. Tootsie is a baby, Uncle Feather is a bird. I know that, Fudge said, but Uncle Feather needs worms to be happy. You want him to be happy, don't you? I'm sure he can be happy without worms, Mom said, pushing her plate aside. Let's talk about this later, Dad said. It's not the best conversation for breakfast. Worms, 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 Fudge sang. That's enough, Fudge, Dad said. But Mom was already in the bathroom. She didn't come back to the table. Grandma came to visit the following weekend and was surprised to find that Fudge no longer slept in the hallway outside my parents' bedroom. I have to sleep in my own room now, Fudge told her, because Uncle Feather needs me. Of course he does, Grandma said, standing in front of Uncle Feather's cage. And you're a lovely birdie, aren't you? Lovely birdie, Uncle Feather said. And Grandma laughed. Oh my, and so smart. So smart, so smart. Oh my, so smart, Uncle Feather said. That night, Mom and Dad went out, and Grandma stayed at home with us, and we all watched TV together. Tootsie was on Grandma's lap, having one of her late-night bottles. So how's kindergarten going? Grandma asked Fudge. I have a nice teacher, he said. She says I'm as sweet as my name. Well, you are, aren't you? Grandma said. I snorted. Do you think I am? Fudge asked Grandma. I certainly do, Grandma told him. I snorted again. All the time? Fudge asked. Well, maybe not all the time, Grandma said, but most of the time. Then why'd you come here to play with Tootsie and not with me? I come to see all of you, Grandma said, burping Tootsie. But you're always holding her, Fudge said, and singing dumb songs to her. They're not dumb, I said. They're from when Grandma was a girl. You were a girl? Fudge asked, trying to get up on Grandma's lap. Certainly, Grandma said, shifting Tootsie into her other arm to make room for Fudge. You were little like me? Yes, Grandma said, and I went to school just like you. Fudge shoved Tootsie out of the way, so Grandma passed her to me. What did you do there? Fudge asked. Oh, I sang songs and painted pictures and played games, learned to read. You learned to read in kindergarten? Well, maybe it was first grade, Grandma said, patting Fudge's head. It was a long time ago. It's hard for me to remember. You know what, Grandma? Fudge said. Know what? I'm a middle child now, so I need lots of attention. Who told you that? Grandma asked. I heard Mommy talking on the phone. It's more important for you to play games with me than with Tootsie. You should try and remember that. What about me? I asked. Where do I fit in? You don't need attention, Fudge said. You're in 6th grade. I was beginning to get annoyed. That doesn't mean I don't need attention. Everybody needs attention, Grandma said. Even you? Fudge asked. Oh, yes, even me, Grandma told him. Who gives you attention? Fudge asked Grandma. Well, my family and friends, Grandma said. Oh, you should get a bird, Fudge said. A bird would give you lots of attention. A bird wouldn't care if you were the middle child or not. Neither would a dog, I said. You should get a dog like Turtle. As soon as he heard his name, Turtle looked up and barked. Tootsie opened her eyes and said, "Agga-goo-goo-ga." That's right, I told her. Now go back to sleep. Grandma went upstairs to tuck Fudge into bed, and I went up to put Tootsie into her crib. Good night, sleep tight, Grandma said to Fudge. Good night, sleep tight, good night, sleep tight, sleep tight, Uncle Feather called. Grandma dropped the cover over his cage. It's the only way to shut him up. And even then he kept calling, good night, good night, good night, until I kicked the base of his cage. After we'd had Uncle Feather for 2 weeks, Fudge was ready to bring him to school for show and tell. Miss Ziff invited the other kindergarten class to come and see him, and I got special permission from Mr. Greens to skip half of English and go down to Fudge's room in case of emergency. Mrs. Heidelbrandt's kindergarten class marched in and sat in a circle on the floor right behind Fudge's class. Uncle Feather's cage stood in the middle of the circle, and when everyone was settled, Fudge pulled the cover off and said, "Presenting Uncle Feather!" "Ooh," all the little kids said. "What a beautiful bird Farley has," Miss Heidelbrandt said. "Isn't he a beautiful bird, class?" "Yes," Miss Heidelbrandt's class answered, sounding like robots. "Yes, what?" Miss Heidelbrandt asked. "Yes, Farley has a beautiful bird," her class said together. "He speaks French," Fudge said. "Does he really?" Mrs. Heidelbrandt asked. "Yes," Fudge told her. "Well, what a coincidence," Mrs. Heidelbrandt said. "So do I." She went up to Uncle Feather's cage, bent way over and said, "Parlez-vous français?" And Uncle Feather cocked his head, looked straight at her and said, "Bonjour, stupid!" Not good. Remember that Fudge doesn't like that teacher, does he? It was his first teacher at the school. And he called her a rat face within like an hour of being in her class. Okay, I'm just going to start a little bit of chapter 8. It's called Naturally Fortified. Naturally fortified. So if you fortify something, you make it stronger. "I want to be a ghost for Halloween," Fudge said. "A scary, scary ghost." "I think we can arrange that," Mum said. She was feeding Tootsie purple mash from a jar. Tootsie lets half of every spoonful ooze right back out of her mouth, so that Mum has to scrape it off her face and start all over again. It takes 3 tries to finish off one baby spoonful. Feeding Tootsie can be an all-day project. "What about you, Peter?" Mum asked. "What do you want to be for Halloween?" "6th graders don't wear costumes," I said. "Really?" Mum said. "When I was in 6th grade..." "Yep, that was a long time ago," I said, interrupting her. 100 years or more?" Fudge asked. "Not quite," Mum told him. "What's Tootsie going to be for Halloween?" Fudge asked. "A baby," I told him. "Ha, Peter," Fudge said, laughing. "You're funny." Every time Fudge laughs, Tootsie laughs too. And when she laughs with her mouth full, she really makes a mess. So now she had plums all over her face, plums drooling down her bib, plums in her hair, covering her rattle, and she then banged on the tray as she laughed. Turtle hangs around when Mom is feeding Tootsie. He's developed a taste for baby food. Mom says it isn't good for him. He needs to chew up hard food to exercise his teeth and jaws. Once a week I give him a special tablet to help with his breath. Lately he has the worst dog breath. I'm glad Sheila Tubman isn't around to tell me how bad my dog smells, because this time she'd be right. Fudge says Turtle should rinse twice a day with Precious Breath, this new blue mouthwash that's been advertised on TV. Fudge is very big on commercials. He's memorized all of them. And when we go into the supermarket, he drives us up the wall reciting his dumb jingles about why we should buy this product instead of that one. My father spends his mornings at the university library and works at home in the afternoons. "How's the book coming along?" I asked him one day when I got home from school. "Slowly, Peter," he said, "very slowly. I'm still gathering information. I hope to finish my research by Christmas and start the actual writing after the holidays." Fudge stood in the doorway, nibbling a piece of cheese. "Dr. Seuss can write a book in an hour," he said. "How do you know that?" I asked. "I don't, but I bet he can," Fudge said. "1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. Do you like green eggs and ham?" "Yes, I like them, Sam, I am." Okay, I said, "That's enough." "Boys, I'm trying to work now," Dad said. "Do you think you could move to another room?" I'll stop there. Okay, so we'll find out why the chapter is called Naturally Fortified if you join me tomorrow. And if you've missed any of these chapters, look back on the Little Maid videos and you can watch them in order. Makes sense. Bye.